Hi folks, Willard Sharp with Willard Sharp Photography, here with episode 2 of my video blog with a continuing discussion on the solar eclipse that is now only 8 days away as I make this recording here on Sunday, March 31st. So let's get right into today's episode. So what I'm going to focus on today is camera gear, camera settings, that sort of thing. Solar filters, why you need them, when you need them, and when you don't need them. So I spent a good part of my day today, now that we're a little more than a week out from the event, getting my list put together of things that I need to make sure that I have packed up and with me when I go on this adventure to photograph the eclipse, wherever it may end up, being visible, because of clouds, which we'll talk about here at the end of the episode. But my list, probably going to be pretty similar to many other photographers out there. So obvious things that you need are cameras and lenses, but also solar filters, whether it's a homemade solar filter that you've made at this point with the solar paper, or a solar filter that you went out and purchased online. You have to have a solar filter that goes on the end of the lens that you're going to be shooting the eclipse with. Without a proper solar filter, you can and will damage your camera, and I'll show you some images I found online of cameras that were destroyed during the 2017 solar eclipse. I'm also going to have my tripod, my laptop. Probably not everyone's going to have a laptop. I have a laptop because I'm going to be fully automating how I shoot the eclipse. It's going to be basically the laptop will be in full control of the camera, and it will be doing the shutter during the entire eclipse event, so I can just sit back and take it all in. Of course, make sure that you've got batteries, have extras, make sure they're fully charged. Memory cards, make sure that your memory cards have been formatted, ready to go. Have spares just in case. In my case, I have a USB-C to USB-A cable, for that camera to laptop connection, so I'll bring it, and also bring a spare along too. I'm going to be using a tracking mount, just like this guy right here, the Skywatcher HEQ5 Pro. That is going to be guiding my camera and lens across the sky, basically following the sun, so I don't have to worry about repositioning my camera every few minutes because the sun is moving across the sky. So the ASI Air is a little computer that controls that mount, so I'll have that with me and all the appropriate cables that go with it. To run the laptop and the mount in the ASI Air, I have a 600 watt external power bank. It has many hours worth of battery life on it, and I tested this out yesterday, and it worked flawlessly through the entire process. So going to have that. And then I'll have other miscellaneous things like a camping table, just like a small little table for the camping or for the camera stuff. Remote trigger and cables, maybe not necessarily for the eclipse. It could be for the eclipse, if you're going to be shooting your camera's on a tripod and you want to have hands-free, and so you're not touching the camera when you're taking photos, you'll want to have a remote trigger with you. Gaffer's tape, for a variety of reasons. You can use that tape to, hold down focus rings, make sure that they don't move, make sure that your solar filter doesn't move, that sort of thing. As I said, all my hardware will be mounted to my tracker, and it'll be following the sun across the sky. Of course, camera and Astro toolkit. That's basically actual tools, screwdrivers, that sort of thing, in case I, need those to, make some adjustments, do some repairs, whatnot. My storm chase bag that's got all of its usual stuff in it, various cables, inverters, a compass is in there, that'll help me polar align my mount, that sort of thing. Food and drink for Eclipse Day. We want to make sure that we have our vehicle adequately packed with supplies because the roads are going to be busy. It's going to be very congested. Pretty much probably no matter where you end up going in the path of totality. So expect restaurants, convenience stores, that sort of thing. They are going to be jam-packed before and after the event. So Be good to have some extra stuff with you in case you just can't get anywhere. And of course, we're going to be comfortable, so we'll have the camping chairs in the back of the vehicle. So solar filters. You have to have a solar filter on your camera during all portions of the partial eclipse. Partial eclipse is before and after totality. Without the filter, you can and will damage your camera. Solar filter only allows a very specific amount of light through, so you can take a good picture of the sun and the sunspots if there are any, and you're not going to damage your camera. But, remember, the number one thing is if you're going to be doing the photography and you want to photograph the entire event from start to finish, you have to have the filter before and after totality, but during totality, take that filter off, because if you forget and leave it on, all the photos you're gonna miss every single one of them. And when you take it off, notice I got this little string attached here, so I'm just gonna pop it off and it'll just dangle down here by the tripod, and then that way I don't lose it, it doesn't blow away, whatever. And then when totality is over, I just pop it back on and I'm ready to go. So here's what happens when you don't run with a solar filter. You point your camera straight at the sun without one. And these are some images that I found online from the 2017 solar eclipse. And you can see that, just like a magnifying glass, when you point that lens to the sun, it focuses that light to a point, just like a magnifying glass does. And it does magnifying glass things. It will burn through things. So, here's an aperture that's been burned through. Here's another lens. This is a Canon lens that's been popped open, and you can see pretty significant damage there to the iris. Here's the shutter cover on a camera. Not sure what model, but you can see it started to burn a hole in the shutter cover. And here's another example of a camera with looks like some sort of ND filter that's on the inside, and the sun did a pretty good job on the edge of that filter there, and it looks like part of the glass here as well is damaged. So be careful out there. When you're doing the solar eclipse photography, make sure that you got the solar filter on. Now, as far as planning, I'm sure at this point pretty much every photographer who's going to take pictures of the solar eclipse probably has a decent idea where they're going to be, of course depending on cloud cover. But if you're still looking for your location, you want to plan things out, this website here, and I'll drop this into the description of the video so you can check it out yourself. Very handy site. You can pretty much click anywhere on the map and it'll give you eclipse start times, end times, when totality starts, when it ends, how long totality is, how high the sun will be up in the sky, what times. Very useful, very important information if you're going to be taking pictures of the solar eclipse. Same website also has a very handy shutter speed calculator for the different aspects, different phases of the solar eclipse. So you can put in a lot of data here. You can put in what your ISO is going to be, what your f-stop is going to be. Are you full frame, crop sensor? What focal length are you going to be shooting? What camera body? That sort of thing. And then you can click on all these different options over here based off the input that you've put in, and it will tell you what shutter speed you should run for these specific things. And I used a lot of very similar settings. I didn't use this website in the 2017 eclipse, but a lot of these settings, a lot of these shutter times are pretty much identical, and they are spot on for taking really nice, really good pictures of the eclipse. So highly recommend that you check this website out so you can get your shutter times figured out. Another handy app that you can load on your phone is the Solar Eclipse Timer. Basically what it does is it will give you audible warnings from your phone when different things are happening during the eclipse, as when you're transitioning from the partial eclipse to totality, that sort of thing. It'll give you verbal warnings as to when that's going to happen based on your GPS location at the time. The app itself is free to download, but if you want the 2024 eclipse data, it will cost you $1.99. I have it loaded on my phone, and I'm looking forward to using it here in a week. All right, lastly, let's once again talk about cloud cover. So several more models are now coming in range of this event now that we're only 8 days out. One of the models that I look at quite a bit when I do astrophotography planning or northern lights planning, when I'm looking for clear skies, is the Canadian models. The Canadian models actually do a pretty good job of forecasting cloud cover. Normally, I just look at them maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 days tops out. So I've never really looked at this model on a 7 or 8 day. But it does have a really good track record. I enjoy using it. It seems to be a little bit better than what the GFS and the European model does. So right now at this point, this is an ensemble output from this model, basically taking the past several runs, combining them together, averaging it out of what the probability of cloud cover is going to be. So like in yesterday's video, I described here in the whites and the light grays, that's 0, 10%, and then all the way up to this light blue color, which is 100% cloud cover. So as we alluded to in yesterday's video, there is going to be a storm system moving into the desert Southwest Monday on the 8th. The model run consistency is pretty much there at this point. Exact placement is still to be determined, especially since we're a week out from that event. But the models are consistent that there is going to be a storm system ejecting out of the desert Southwest into the southern and central plains into the Midwest. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be ejecting out on Eclipse Day. So right now, and this is going to change, it's not set in stone because we are 7 days out. This storm system could slow down. It could eject out faster. But as of right now, it looks like if you're wanting to shoot the eclipse down here in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, keep an eye on things, but I would start or be ready to execute on your plan B or C for locations. Right now, anyway, it's looking like here in the Midwest to the Ohio Valley up into New England, actually looking pretty decent for clear skies. Now, remember, on Eclipse Day, you don't have to have perfectly clear skies. You just need some breaks in the clouds, especially during the totality phase of the eclipse. And even like down here in this area, there's probably going to be a few breaks, as totality is passing over. So, again, if you live down in this area, try not to be discouraged. But if you really want to see the eclipse, again, maybe start looking at your Site B and Site C. As we get closer, to the Eclipse Day, the cloud cover forecast is going to come into focus, and by next weekend, we're going to have a pretty good idea of where we're going to have clouds, where we're going to have breaks in the clouds, and where we're going to have clear skies. So definitely stay tuned to that. And for that, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you next time.